we could extend, because I bought this Google One. It's called Google One account,
Yes.
and it says you will have extended meetings. Yeah.
Is your postdoctoral
Uh,
thesis about the technology and nature?
yeah.
The illusions. No problem.
Okay. So thank you very much, Professor Pechregel. And I very thank you very much for sending back also the document. And I will work on all of your comments that you made in it. That's very nice. Thank you. So how shall we proceed? We said it's an alphabetical order. So the next would be L. Is that correct? Or is it no? Yes. Yeah, because we changed actually. Yeah. So Professor Eva Lakies, if you could,
Yes.
yeah, and Eva Lakies already gave me a very extensive feedback with comments to the PDF that was actually great, and I've already implemented it. Like some things that are really important, like how to use or not to use certain, quotes and of course a lot of also um, uh, help in the sense of contents and Lacanian theory. That was very helpful. Yes, Professor, please go ahead.
Yes. I really would like to say again how much I like your project.
Thank you.
Because what I like really very much is this, that you like to link this question of green politics and the function of nature for society today with the philosophical question of critique and critical, especially the critique of the capitalism. And I think this is for me very innovative concerning the philosophical discourse. And I also like very much at the same time that you like to link the tradition of the Frankfurt School to the Lacanian psychoanalytic discourse, which I can imagine could be also very fruitful. And so I really like these two designs. So they are quite fruitful for me. Yes, but when I would so I some had also some take care of what could be dangerous or. Maybe I would affirm a little bit the approach of Alice, but let me begin here. I have the feeling this chapter shows your thesis today. It's your question, it's your thesis which you have, and we always have to have a kind of pre-interpretation. And this opens the question, and then we look chapter by chapter. What's about when we go deeper? When we look, for example, one chapter, the four discourse, like Lacan has described them, or then what the idea of capitalism developed by Adorno and Horkheimer. And so on. Oh, the idea of paranoid subject. Yes. So I think this, like Alice also told before, it's very important to make this research work in detail, and at the end you can write maybe your introduction, because it's always like this. Yes, we have an introduction before, but this is a kind of hypothesis. And then we have to work the details, and then we are really, we have really results. And I by myself thought also similar like Alice, that maybe it's not so important, that they really have the same idea and the same theory of the subject and the same argumentation. It's enough if they are very close. If you find out they are very, very close, or they are touching in some points, it's wonderful. So maybe you it's not necessary from the beginning to find out identical approaches. It's wonderful if you show us how they are linked and where are similarities and where are differences. But this will come automatically by your work.
Mhm.
So in general, I would say that this would be requests for me to look closer to Lacanian concept of the four discourse. And the fourth is the capitalist discourse. So we have the four,
Yeah.
the master discourse, the discourse of the hysteric, the discourse of the psychoanalyst, and the discourse of the university. And the discourse of the capitalism is something special, because all the other four discourses are social discourses for him. But the capitalism discourse is one which makes a pollution to the other discourse, because the question of verity doesn't play any role anymore. So
the question of
verity, Wahrheit
truth.
is
Truth.
yeah.
Yes.
French, I think French. The question of truth doesn't play a role anymore. So the only aim is that there is production, and all the other social values are losing their value. There's only the jouissance c'est le production. Donc the idea of jouissance is only connected to product more. Yes, to more production. So, and this is very different from the other discourse. So I think it would be very important to make a really nice analysis of this concept. And then, what does capitalism and critique of capitalism mean for Adorno and Horkheimer? That's another question, and how they are related. And maybe then also, if this is definition of paranoia, I have the feeling it's very important for you, then there should be a chapter where you introduce in the idea of paranoia, like Freud described it, and which was very important for Adorno and Horkheimer, as you said. But then look, what does this mean for Lacan? But because he also is referring to Schreber, so this would be wonderful. There are a lot of touching moments between these authors. But for example, I don't have the feeling that his model of the four discourses is connected to paranoia. It's not my idea. Maybe he said that the discourse of the capitalist is the last etape, is the last moment before it turns into psychosis. Yes, because there's the value of truth is not there anymore, not the idea of social change, but there is when you how can we say that this value of production has a certain acceptance by the society. This is which makes it not psychotic, but it's really the last moment before it turns to be psychotic. yes, these are some points which I turns out to, which are maybe are helpful also now that in your situation where you can continue. I don't know. I hope so.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for your motivation. Also, thank you very much. Yeah, and yes, there is this crucial point of this different new discourse, which is the capitalist discourse, which I try to associate with the green economy discourse.
Yes.
That there is really a change that took place in environmental policies that took place like from the 2000s on, where also the mode of production, the economic logic changed, because you don't work with labor like rubber tappers tapping rubber or gathering Brazil nuts or something like that. No, you tell them to do nothing, and you say that the thing that it is this forest has a virtual value that can be used to accumulate capital in other ways. Yeah, so this virtualization of on an economic plane is one thing that already I think is one of these big changes. And on a discursive level, also very much that the discourse changed radically. There's no problem anymore. It's only solutions. It's all win-win. All these projects, they say, no, it's win-win, you know. And this disappearance of the problem, this is something that's very much associated, in my view, to foreclosure, to this becoming psychotic, you know, by like Schreber. There's this point in the beginning, he feels like persecuted by this Lexik, this psychiatrist, and he's very anxious all the time. And there is one point where he's not anxious at all anymore, and he functions very well. There is Freud cites this report of the psychiatrist who treated Schreber. He says it's amazing that the guy is very intelligent. He can talk a lot. He seems like an absolutely normal person, but he has some absolutely crazy ideas that are disconnected from reality, you know. And so and this we find very much in this new discourse, when there are all of a sudden concepts coming up that are absolutely don't work, they don't exist. Anybody who looks at it, like decoupling, you know, absolute decoupling of environmental bads from economic goods. So so really this discourse changed radically, and I see very much this element of foreclosure, which Lacan associates with the discourse of the capitalist. No, he says that the thing is, he doesn't, when he speaks about the capitalist discourse, it's not at all systematic. It's very like cryptic, you know, and that's why there are many different interpretations of this discourse. Yeah, but there is definitely this element of foreclosure that he mentions. So I see it as very much associated with psychosis, not so much with paranoia, but with psychosis. Yeah. And but as you said, maybe, I mean, it's not that the whole society is psychotic. Yes, and Samuel Tomsic, exactly, he exploits very much. I go very much with this interpretation that Samuel Tomsic brings of the discourse of the capitalist, because Lacan, he speaks more about this consumerist aspect, the gadgets, the gadgets, this object relation that the people don't produce desire anymore in the sense of trying to establish a relation with the other, but they desist completely from that and have this immediate short-term relations with objects that they throw away and buy other ones. Yeah, that's something that Lacan describes, but Samuel Tomsich takes it to another level, where he associates it with the financial capitalism. And this change from the industrial capitalism, where there was still labor, there were relations like classes, the worker at the capitalist, and one exploits the other. That's a relation. I mean, it's a terrible relation, but it's a relation. But then when with the financial capitalist, there happens that what Zizek calls the real of capital. I think this is a fantastic concept. It is really what happened, that capital became real. It's not, nobody controls it anymore. It's like a nature phenomenon, actually. Capital, because it's he says it's the solipsistic dance of capital that destroys whole economies. It has its own dynamic, and it's not like there's no master anymore, like a capitalist class who controls it. And so, and this is Samuel Tomsich associates very clearly with this financial capitalism, and this is also what happens in with environmental politics, where actually now it's there's no more labor involved. As I said, there's no more rubber tappers. They are all like put into they are unemployed. They only get some money maybe to do nothing. So and this is very much now. There's it's much more under the logic of financial capitalism. The whole environmental politics. Yeah. So yes, and so the discourse of the capitalist, it's not, there is this paranoid disposition somehow that Adorno and Horkheimer describe, and that also Lacan describes in a more general way, this paranoid constitution of the subject that somehow is paranoid in the sense of never being able to distinguish between its own desire and the desire of the other. That creates kind of a general kind of paranoid situation that is intrinsic to being a subject. That's one thing that Lacan describes. And then there is this psychotic paranoia. This is when the subject becomes psychotic, but not in a schizophrenic way. In the schizophrenic way, it's like there is no more logic in no more not even a provisional symbolic order. But the paranoid psychotic creates a new world order. I mean, Schreber calls it Weltordnung. The Weltordnung, where all of a sudden everything makes sense because God chose him to create a new mankind and will make him a woman so that he can bear a child, and everything is totally clear for him. There's no doubt. This paranoid psychotic has no more doubt, because actually his psychotic, his symbolic order collapsed. And I think this is what's happening now. It's like they also always speak about the tipping points in climate. We're going through a tipping point now, and I think this is also this discourse that is supposed to lead with this problem. It cannot lead anymore with this terrible conflict of the impossibility of internal growth and this dynamic of capital growing. And so it throws this conflict out by an act of foreclosure, and creates a new universe, a new world order where everything's fine. Everything can be regulated through economic measures. And yeah, I don't know if this was very clear now, but so I think, yes, I think it's not that whole society becomes psychotic, but this specific discourse, it bears certain a psychotic structure. This is what I would argue.
It was funny. I was 3 weeks ago at a conference here in Nice on the 4 concepts of discourse from Lacan. And I liked very much the interpretation, because there was somebody who said that the discourse of capitalism makes a kind of pollution to the other discourse. So the other discourse are organizing the society, the social exchange, but the capitalism pollutes every other discourse. So it makes us ill, if you want.
Yeah.
Yes?
If you have this,
I think it was a good picture to understand the relationship. So that he has really a special function, this discourse, which is disturbing very much. Yeah, Alice?
May I just refer to Bion, who was very important for Lacan after the war. He even went to visit Bion, and for his development of his theory of psychosis, which is much more profound than the one of Freud. I think it would be for you interesting to read a little text by Bion. It's called Attacks on Linking. And it describes how a person gets psychotic by losing the connection, the connectivity of thinking, of the act of thinking. We connect all the time, and the psychotic can't anymore connect one thought with the other, because there is so much possibility of a total anxiety attack, if you want. And for example, the paranoia is like blocking this anxiety. That's why Schreber doesn't feel the anxiety, but it's always working in his or conscious, if you want, or unconscious. But this text, I think, would be very interesting also in this perspective you were talking about now.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it will be very interesting for me to try when I go to the projects, really, I will compare 2 projects and try to find at least, homologies with this an ability of thinking. Lacan speaks about the suture points, in a discourse, and so I think there can be shown parallels, but this will be a challenge for me to show that I really how this new discourse really corresponds to something like psychotic language. Yeah. Thank you. So thank you again, Professor Laquies. Yeah, I think this is. I'm very happy to be with you, because you really have a very profound knowledge of the Lacanian theory, and especially the discourse theory. So if you could send me maybe this this guy who spoke about pollution of the discourses. Maybe he wrote something about that.
I try to. I'm sure I find some manuscript. I asked them also. Yeah. And I will have a look if they are already there now. The text.
Thank you.
Yes, and you can translate them by DeepL. So
yes.
Yeah,
it's better because my French. I'm still taking classes in French. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's very slowly, very slowly. I to read
but
Lacan.
it's very good that you start to
Yeah.
to speak French.
Yeah, at least I have to.
We always have to start.
Yeah. Okay. So you think I responded more or less to the things you said?
Yes,
Professor?
of course. So no, we are in any way we stay in exchange on the details, and so
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, Professora Pisani, Professora Marilia, could you talk a little bit about what
Yes,
you
a
thought?
little bit. Yes. Can you hear me well? Yes.
Yes, very well.
Yes. Thank you. It's very nice and very important to hear your reading about the Mikhail works, because I think that I will put 3 questions, and it is very naive, the questions that I will put, because I feel that I am not in my knowledge is not centered in the center of your work. I don't read Lacan. I don't know very well this debate about the discourse on Lacan. So I am much more close of authors that are marginal in your work, as Spivak, Donna Haraway, and what you know, you name it as indigenous knowledge. So this is the place from where I will put some ideas, and it's very important for me to that the professors that are here present can help to say if my ideas are completely out of the way Mikhail needed to work. Because if I understood there are many detailed questions that you needed to weave between Adorno and Lacan, and this I will not touch. Okay, so I have different kinds of doubts of how to do this kind of approach between psychology and ecology, and especially because the notion of social pathology it's very problematic for me, especially the analogies between society and the individual. And my question is, I would like really to understand, not now, it's not a question for now, it's to think for the work, how to capture the subjectivity inside the discourse of discourses. You know, what is the material support, or what I could say, the ideological way of appear of this kind of a discourse. And I am saying that because I would like you to understand better the way of the clinic inside the reflections of Lacan, how he do this kind of tension between social diagnosis and the clinical symptoms, for example. And I have this curiosity because your theses are suggesting that there are some kind of specificity in the green capitalist discourse. So my question is, what is the material basis? So could be the discourse of ecology that are appearing in the clinic, in the hearing of the psychoanalytic, inside the setting of the clinic, the therapeutic place. I know that I can hear many friends talking about that, how the disaster, the apocalyptic feelings are appearing and mobilizing desires and fears of the individuals. Could be through the propaganda, because here is a very interesting place to see how we produce a subjectivity with ideology. And in the propaganda, all of the characteristics that you named as green capitalist can be seen there. Could you work with the documents For example, the REED documents of the green capitalist, the discourse of the new financiarization. What I am trying to say is, it can be nice to think better about the theories, but I really would like to see more world, more subjectivity, that will support this new discourse. I don't know if it's a good question. It's something that is important for me. The second question is just another desire that could be how to map the counter discourse. And I am asking that because you have as proposal of your work to discuss with the non-Western futures, with feminism and others counter knowledge. So could you say something about indigenous discourse, about ecofeminist discourse, the colonial discourse, Black discourse, or what could be an interest in the ecological discourse against this new capitalism discourse that you are saying? And I am putting this idea just because you have this proposal. You are trying to work with utopia too in the 50th chapter. So to arrive there in this ecology without nature that could overcome in the fantasy of nature and preventing foreclosure. Preventing foreclosure is a very strong expression. I can see what could be preventing foreclosure, especially because for me, the articulation between psychology and ecology and this notion of social pathologies is not clear for me. In what sense you are working with this idea. So to finish, new discourse, counter discourse. This is just an utopia too, Mikhail. It's not a proposal for you. It's just to think beyond. To finish, you are assuming an expression from Vladimir Safatli that is ecology without nature. I can understand what it's mean.
It's not from Safatli. It's from Timothy Morton.
Okay, so Safatli is working maybe from this Timothy Morton expression.
Yes.
So,
the name of his book, Nature, Ecology Without Nature, is the title of the book of Timothy Morton.
Perfect. So the both can help to think.
Safatli takes this idea also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the end of your work. So as is a final goal, you don't need to think now about that. But as is a goal, it's interesting to have some lights. And for me, it's very interesting to imagine what does this idea of preventing foreclosure, rethinking nature, what kind of struggles can be articulated by a new notion of nature? What it does, or what count as nature in this utopia that you are imagining, and more, what kind of the consequences of the social movements. The way you work with this idea, social movements, is very broad. You talk about deep ecology, but it could be interesting to remember from where you are thinking, that is the fight from Amazon, and especially what kind of discourse are emerging there to fight against the green ecology, So it's not just an utopia, it's a very material production of subjectivity, of actions. And I will end with just one phrase that is, don't lose the goal of your work, that is to have a deep responsibility with the consequences of the discourse. And I know that this is your life. This is your way to walk in your life. So the result of this thesis can help or paralyze social movements. And what kind of social movements you can produce language to fight better, to don't be trapped in the contradictions of green capitalism. I see your work as a tool, as an arm to help the people that are trapped in this confusion. So to me, it's very interesting to see what exactly is new in green capitalism as subjectivity and ecology. So in discourse, as you are naming with Lacan, this is my some ideas, and I will stop here. It's not something that had to ask me, but if all of you could think, or if he's interested in some way, you can develop some ideas. Thank you.
You want me to start, or Professor Silvia, Professor Eva want to start?
No.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And what you say that you're not a specialist in Lacan, I think this is very good, because I want, as you said, I want to write this to be a tool to help actually to this movement, because I feel as a part of a movement of people who really, I mean, who oppose to this new kind of, to this kind of policies. And so I am always in this dilemma. Lacan is something that everyone says, oh, Lacan is so difficult and nobody understands Lacan. And at the same time, I want to get to a point where I can have a clear message, that I can publicize. I'm thinking that when this doctorate is done, I want to put this in a more simple way, and to go back to a more different kind of articulation and of publishing of things that people that don't necessarily know who Lacan was can read and can understand. And I think it's possible, and it's very important for me to also talk to you, who has this very down to earth questions that you gave me. So I think one of the first terms you said was about social pathology. What does that mean? It's somehow, in the first glance, it's a little paradoxical, I think, because we have this medical discourse that says you are sick and you're not sick, so the medical discourse that somehow could be associated with this is complicated, because it's a master discourse. It's a discourse of oppression, like Foucault described it very well. And but that exactly, Vladimir Safatli, he uses this expression, and one of the first, I don't know in what text it is, it's the one where you, Professor Marilla, have a publication also about fetishism in this book. It's called Social Pathologies, I think. No? And there he says that important to understand that it's also to criticize this medical and psychiatric discourse, and pathology, maybe I understand, should be just understood as the root of the Greek word patein, which means to suffer. It's about forms of social suffering. And there is always social suffering, as Freud said. There is always this discontent in culture, but it's different. It's different. It re-articulates all the time, And so we can it's not to get rid of the suffering, which would be this naive utopia. Just get rid of it. but we can analyze it and we can improve it, and we can make it less destructive and less violent, maybe. So I think this is the idea of behind social pathology. And but I think I should maybe describe that a little more. Okay, and then this step from the clinical to the social. I think this was a questioning that you said. How so there is this clinical part of the psychoanalysis, and how do you get to a social critic? I think maybe that was a questioning that you also had. That
It's not a question to answer. It's to have in the mind when you will work between this transposition between green capitalism and from where these discourses appear in the materiality as ideology. It's just to keep in the mind that this is what you are trying to do with Lacan.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael, just as I have the word, please, you don't need to be didactic in your thesis. You are complexifying a very big question. Just work. The consequence of your discourse to the social movement will appear after. So just work. You don't need to change your way of work. Okay?
Can I put some words about this? Because I have the same impression as you said. The didactic way you think. It's important for sure to explain, to be clear in your ideas. But I think in the thesis you have to make questions and think and make the reader of your thesis think with you. Not explain. I will do an explanation about the, because many people do it. It's called a manual of Lacanian thinking and so on and so on. It's important too. It's part of the work. But the main question you have to do is, if I take this Lacanian instrument to think about green ecology, what are the questions we have? And what are the consequences you have? To make the people think about it, because Lacan and Adorno are difficult to read, not because they are mystical or so on, because they are authors that make us to think with them. That's the position, and maybe the words that Maria said to you is very important to think you as an author.
Yes.
And with both authors, do you know?
Yes. Yes,
that's
I
interesting.
agree very much. I also I like this very much what you both said, because I think it's really your space to develop your research, your question, your own work in analyzing these two great authors, and develop your special question. And afterwards, you can make an approach to transfer it to the public in an easier way. But now it's really your time as author. Yes, I agree this very much. You should
Thank you.
miss this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great time to have this space.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
I think I understand what you're trying to tell me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm always kind of a little anxious, like if people will really understand what I'm trying to say. But as Silvio said, maybe it's better to make the reader think with me somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good idea. And it's even alleviating for me. It takes a little weight off my shoulders.
And because of that you don't need to answer what I told. It's just to have some other reference to think you better. Would
Yeah.
like I discuss with this idea that Maria put it to me? No, I don't like. I prefer to follow, Or no, it's interesting. It can move my thinking in another way. It's just to keep with you because I know that are big questions. And
Yeah.
your work is so interesting, and you are in the very serendipity moment to think
Yeah.
about that question.
Yeah. That's, thank you. Yeah. And what you said also about how to map the counter discourse, how and the indigenous discourse, and how does this relate with the red projects also? They also mentioned that, yeah. And I think that's something that of course I will write about in the later chapters, and it's at the one hand, you see in this situation now with these projects, it shows the how the violence becomes like physical, the violence from this discourse, from this tendency of this psychotic tendency of this capitalist discourse produces violence, in the communities in the Amazon region, and this can be shown very clearly, and how this violence works, yeah. And of course you said, are there like discourses emerging, uh, uh, and they are definitely, yeah. I mean, we talked about what's his name, the Krenak, no? But I think Krenak, he's already very much being explored, but also here in Acre, there's not so much written. But like 3 days ago, I was invited to speak to a class of students of Zoobotanica. That's something from my institute, and so I invited to talk with me an indigenous leader, Nina Wahoni Queen. And then our conversation extended like to almost 4 hours. It was incredible. And he spoke and he told, for instance, of his project of indigenous university. And in the first place, we think, the indigenous want to be also like intellectuals. It's totally different. It says it's not a physical university. It's the forest is the university, and the teachers are the frog and the snake, and he has so clear ideas of this, yeah. That's incredible. It's so amazing, and so it's really it's a way of thinking without nature. Without nature, in the thing like nature there, nature, this other realm, ontological realm, and so it's there, but it doesn't articulate directly as a counter discourse. Yeah, no, of course there are other voices that reject green economy, but of course they have to somehow adopt the rationality of the Western discourse. They say, no, this doesn't work because blah blah blah. But there are also these other ideas, that are there, that are already utopias. Very 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 rich utopias. So. And I think this will be interesting, that this exists, and that this kind of thinking is actually a resistance. This kind of thinking. Okay. What else? Yeah, and the feminist discourse also. Yeah, I think I didn't know. I have written that a little bit. That actually, no, nature is always in this construction, nature construction. In the imaginary realm, it is feminine. nature is always like a woman. That's like from the Middle Ages, but in modernity also very, very much. And there is this dichotomical image that I see very much. On the one hand, the resource that can be exploited, like an object of desire, and something that's an object that you can like take and transform and exploit. And on the other hand, there is this veneration of a motherly nature that you cannot touch. Yeah, that and this is something that I want to deepen a little bit because this is something that Freud described. I don't know which is the text, and that was later called the Madonna whore complex. The Madonna whore complex. That men many times are unable to have a respectful relation with women because they can only see them as whores or as venerable mother figures. You know, this dichotomic image, which is somehow the root of the violence against women to a great degree. And this, I think, applies very much to this imaginary nature relation also. But there is one author that I pretend to read more, that's Luce Irigaray. Luce Irigaray. And she writes that she writes also about this imaginary construction of woman. And I think this will be interesting to discuss this in one of the coming chapters. Yeah. So thank you. But Marilia, you said other things. Maybe I left out.
No
point.
problem.
Yeah.
It's okay. Keep it with you. Reread your annotations.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
If you have something to write, and don't forget that follow your questions. You know, follow your questions. This is important. You have the big questions yet. So Irigaray is maybe too much, but follow your question. If she appear, nice, but you don't need to ask the questions of the other.
Yeah, I see. Yes. Uh-huh.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is really a very special moment for me to have your feedback. And that helps me a lot and motivates me. And hopefully I can, take your this into account. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have the possibility to do this. At the same time, I'm kind of anxious, of course. But I think this is how you know how it is when you write your thesis. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for my late, because this timing.
Oh, you're very busy. You're a coordinator of the course now, aren't you?
Yes, but it's another appear the question for me.
You have a very nice
the bank appear, so
I see.
I couldn't avoid it. But just for you, I wrote just now before this meeting for the secretary to know about this agreement between our universities. It's okay or not? It's virtualization of the bureaucracy, and I hope to answer. I'm waiting for this answer. But and another question is the question or not, but suggestion is to create this exam of qualification in December, the first weeks of December, maybe. I don't know if Eva and Alice could be present online for sure.
Yes.
This time, but I'm organizing.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's in the first week of December.
Yeah, I think that's the best because it's the end of the year, but not so end of the year.
Yes.
And but I will arrange some people to I will talk with Marilia and Michael. I don't know what are your position in this in this exam, Eva and Alice, because I don't know if you are just now supervisor of this work, and then
Yes,
maybe you couldn't be present
yes. Yeah.
as examiners.
Yes, no, we have to reflect this because it's true that Alice will be the official supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
And but the good thing of this solution is that I can at the end write I can be
External.
the external who writes the
Nice.
die Beurteilung,
The evaluation.
the evaluation.
Yes.
But
Nice.
you have right. We should there should be no overlapping in the process before. Yes,
It
because
would nice.
yes, this doesn't make sense. So if everything what is official, I should be a part. I should not be on your. I should be not informed. Yeah, of course, yes. So and Michael, also for you, this would be in the future would be better that you mention Alice, but not me.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
because it's the university who proposed us this solution. But nevertheless, we should take care that so we should not overdo it. So yes, they're okay with this solution, but nevertheless, officially your supervisor is no, it's Alice.
And actually, I will take part in a seminar online that starts now in October, like in 2 weeks with Professor Alice. And so I will present my project there and discuss it also with her and her students. So she's not only a pro forma supervisor. So yeah.
And she really likes the work very, very much. Yes, and she invited you for a lecture, doesn't she?
Yes, a lecture. Yes. It's called Lectures for Future. They have lectures called Lectures for Future, and she invited me. It will be 3:00 in the morning for me. I will and about these red projects, about this carbon project. It's not about my thesis. It's about the problematic of the climate crisis and these false solutions. And I was very happy to receive this invitation. I'm very happy about that.
I have to say that I make a pirate idea. I take your idea of lecture future, Eva, for a project here in Brazil, because the name is amazing.
Yeah, because
I create a lecture, a series of lectures that the name Lecture of Tomorrow, not the future.
Yes. Nice
but it's directly inspired on your work and what are talking about the last time we met. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, and I think it's okay if Professor Lakies helps a little bit with this also, and then it's a qualifier. I think I don't know, but I think it's not it's not a real problem, because Professor Pesching is really is really also doing the work of the supervisor also. So I'm very happy with this solution, because actually it was a bureaucratic problem there that Professor Lakies couldn't be the main supervisor. I don't know why, but so we had to find this solution.
If somebody is the main supervisor at the University at Klagenfurt, he must be working there all the time. And I'm not working there all the time. I'm a lecturer, nevertheless, I made my habilitation in Klagenfurt. So in principle, I could help you by your research work, of course, but they have this point that you have to work fully. I don't like ein Beamter. What's the Beamter?
An official, an officer.
Employer.
Yeah.
You have to be employed at the university. Yes.
Yeah. But Professor Laquies is a habilitation. This is something it doesn't exist in Brazil. But I think but I think it corresponds what they call licenciatura livre. No, livre, professura livre.
Yes, like
livre docencia. I think this is what it corresponds to. What they call in Austria habilitation. It's like a long work that a person who is already a doctor and a lecturer has to provide and go through exams so that he can call himself a professor, habilitated
Docent.
docent.
Privatdozent. Now I'm a privat. They're very funny types.
Yeah, we have this structure close to American universities, so it's assistant professor.
But it's a post-structural thesis, and this enables me to make research work with other people, with students. For example, to write a doctoral thesis.
Yes, is it possible? Yes. But
nevertheless, in Klagenfurt, they want to have only people who take care for doctoral thesis, which are working there as an employer.
Full-time.
Full-time job.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope you do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm now already too old for that.
No, it's or not.
I like to do my research work, and I living in France.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad with
it's best for you.
Yes. Nice.
Yes. Great.
Okay. So there's one thing that I wanted to mention still is I'm like Professor Pechriegel is not here now, so we cannot really make a new date for a new meeting. But how do you think we should proceed? Maybe like have another meeting like in 2 months or something like that. When I wrote something more, I think that.
I think that if you will have your exam of qualification, it's not necessary to do that before.
No, not before.
No, we can talk after next
after
year.
Okay, next year.
Because it will be in December, so we have the
we will see in December.
Yes.
Yeah.
We start in January.
That's fine with me. But anyways, if you sometimes maybe have a look at the text, I have a new text, because I implemented changes that Professor Laquies recommended, and I wrote the next chapter, which is about the discourse of the master and this psychotic aspects that I see already in Ulysses. It's short, and I would be very curious to know what you think about that, because it's kind of something I don't know if everybody agrees. It's but I can take it and without any. But
it's with you. You have autonomy too to implement or not, and we don't need to agree. You can help to suggest.
Yeah. Okay.
Autonomy with your text.
Okay.
But when we have the text prepared to examine, you can send for us. I think that is just what we
need. And it's important to you, Mikhail, to think about the time for the committee examine you. So you have to send it maybe until October,
Yes.
end of
Mhm.
October. So
Yeah.
it's important to you because it's English text, and we have to invite somebody from uh, uh, from UFBC
Yes.
that works at UFBC. So there is some complications that if you send the work with less few days for the reader,
Yes.
be
Of
complicated.
course.
So
Can yeah. Okay. Maybe Professor Silva, we can have a talk, the two of us, maybe one more time, just only for me to see
for
exactly
sure,
if that what I have now is good for the qualification, if I should maybe shorten one part or not, or just have a last look at it. Because actually, it's what I sent you is more or less what I thought would be good for the qualification. But
yes.
of course, I make corrections, and maybe I just check that one more time with you before with yeah, with the
Okay.
PhD. Uh-huh. Okay. So thank you very, very much. I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
to have you as supervisors and Professor Pesch. That's really wonderful. I think it couldn't be any better. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye.
Bye
Nice to
bye.
see you
All of
again. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Mikhail, if you
Sim.
can stay some minutes, please.
Yes, of course.
Maybe
Podemos falar com
talvez eu
ele.
chame a Marília também
A
aqui.
Marília já saiu.
Vamos ver
Quer
se ela
chamar ela de volta?
porque assim, aí são complicações que eu tenho que te falar que exigem, aí talvez deixa eu, mas é relativamente rápido, uma parte eu já falei com a Marília. O que acontece? Eu acho que você está com a expectativa do Vladimir na banca, certo?
Sim.
O que acontece? Ele está mal do coração.
Como
Então,
assim?
ele tá, eu fui numa banca, ele quase não foi na banca, que era da aluna dele, e ele foi para o hospital e tal. Então, a Marília e eu estávamos conversando, assim, de talvez poupá-lo. Embora eu escreva para ele enviar, eu acho que ele gostaria de estar na sua banca,
É.
né? Mas, ao mesmo tempo, eu tenho esse cuidado com ele, né?
Quantas pessoas pode ter na banca?
Eu creio que são duas pessoas, sendo uma interna da UFABC e a outra externa.
E
Isso.
e orientador.
E o orientador, mas o orientador é o cara que fica calado e
Mas
que
então,
tenta
eu tenho esses dois, vão os dois, a Marilia vai também, ou só você?
Não, a Marília está como orientadora, ela também não pode.
Ela não pode. Então, vai ser você e mais duas pessoas, é isso?
E mais duas pessoas. A Marília vai estar, claro, né?
É.
Mas como orientadora. Eu convidaria a Alice também, né? Pode ser
Sim.
legal, ela tá. De interno, quem eu pensei? A Alexia.
Alexia.
De
Yeah.
todas as que tem uma articulação, ela não tem muito coisa de Lacan, né? Mas tem discussões um pouco sobre natureza, feminismo, ela vai por esses lados, assim. Pode ser que Adorno ela conhece, então pode ser
Sim.
que ela ajude, porque eu não vi outra pessoa dentro da UFBC que possa te ajudar, entendeu?
Entendo.
Esse é um problema. E eu tentei fazer já uma banca só com membros externos, e o sistema me impossibilitou.
Teve a professora, peraí, onde eu também fiz o seminário de pesquisa com ela, a
Nathalie?
Patrícia.
Patrícia? Não, ela é mais da lógica, assim.
É verdade. Sim.
Eu não sei.
É. E tem aquele que também foi coordenador do curso, né? Ele
O
também
André. Então, é Deleuze.
é Deleuze.
O coordenador do curso, peraí, o Luiz Eva?
Eu acho que é. Ele não é lacaniano. Ele também
Não
não é
tem,
aconselhado.
não, é meio analítico, assim, não
É.
sei.
Não,
que não
então, eu
ia
acho que
ajudar. Não é que
a-
são más pessoas, entendeu? É que
é,
para o teu trabalho não te ajudariam, né?
então, a Alexia, eu acho que também ela é uma pessoa muito, assim, né, uma pensadora muito interessante e gentil também.
Tá. Da banca externa, deixa eu ver se eu entendi o que a Eva falou. Ela não pode vir, é isso? Ou ela poderia ser membro externo?
Não, a Eva, ela poderia vir, mas não como orientadora,
Exa-
né?
E não como examinadora.
Eu acho que como examinadora possivelmente podia. A
Eu,
ideia
eu,
é
não-
que
eu não
ela
entendi
seja
se ela
examinadora na
queria
banca
fazer.
final, na defesa.
Oi?
Na defesa, ela vai entrar e ser planejada como examinadora.
Tá. Verifica quantas pessoas tem na defesa.
Peraí.
Né?
Ah,
Depois. Porque uma
é,
pessoa que eu pensei para chamar seria o
Christian,
Christian Dunker,
Nunca? Uh,
né? Não, eu pensei Samu Tonsik, Alen Kazupansik. É que a minha questão, e eu escrevi isso até com cópia para você agora, para a secretaria, eu falei, olha, eu não sei como é que está esse acordo. Se esse acordo entra, eu posso chamar as pessoas de lá para a banca externa, não posso? Como que eu faço? Qual é o procedimento que vocês me orientam?
tá. Ainda não vi esse.
Eu estou completamente perdido aí, né?
É,
Mas eu pensei nesses nomes como nomes possíveis, porque eu acho que tem que ter alguém, né, gigequiano, lacaniano, que trabalhe, porque você vai por essa linha, né?
é.
O Vladimir seria um deles, mas eu tô com essa, assim, eu vou convidá-lo, vou falar com ele com calma, mas
Se ele
eu gostaria de poupá-lo
sim, entendo.
nessa situação, porque inclusive a Marília me lembrou, vai que tem um piripaque.
Como? A Marilia?
A Marília me lembrou, vai que ele tem um piripaque no,
Um peripaque,
né?
um ataque. Meu
Tem que,
Deus.
porque foi isso que aconteceu, ele estava tudo programado, tal, a gente ficou até zoando, porque ele sempre atrasa nas
Mas que.
bancos, ele atrasou mais uma vez, normal, aí quando ele ligou, eu tô aqui no hospital e tal, eu falei, puta,
Meu Deus.
e ele veio mal, entendeu?
É,
Então eu tô assim super atento a isso.
então, a saúde dele é em primeiro lugar. Mas quem sabe, ainda 2 meses, talvez ele.
Ou mandar o texto para ele, falar, olha, a gente queria depois conversar, mas vai com calma, tal, né? Sei.
Talvez seria.
É,
Você que sabe, tá? Mas, claro, o Kodunka também é uma pessoa super competente, né? Para entrar, né?
a minha
Isso,
única dúvida é se a Eva vai querer ir na banca. Porque se
eu vou
ela quiser
perguntar a ela.
ir, pode ser legal. Uma banca Eva e, e, a, e
E
a
vai
Alex.
Eva e Alexia. Mas eu
A,
acho que
a
também
questão é que é muito interno, né?
é,
Uma discussão muito interna. A gente não consegue ter um examinador mais externo.
né?
Não sei. Eu fiquei na dúvida como que ela vê essa questão também. Porque a fala dela sobre a posição dela, eu entendi que ela falou mais em relação à sua situação em Klagenfurt. Mas não necessariamente isso pode ser a mesma situação no. O que ela disse é que ela queria estar presente na banca de defesa.
É. Sim,
Isso.
sim, na banca de defesa. Ela vai estar presente como examinadora. Mas
Examinadora na
existe a
banca de
ideia de que o
defesa lá em
examinador
Klagenfurt.
deve ser alguém, tipo, que não tenha, que não tenha ajudado, né? É
Oi?
isso, né? E
Como é
que
que
a
é?
ideia
Desculpa.
é que o examinador deve ser alguém que vem de fora mesmo, que não é alguém que já ajudou também na elaboração.
Isso ajuda porque é mais uma voz, né? Que você tem
É,
no trabalho. Mas, ao mesmo tempo, eu sei que a gente está pisando em ovos aí, né? Porque eu também não quero negar a presença dela, não é esse o
mas
caso
eu acho que como
mesmo.
examinadora, ela é absolutamente. Eu acho que
Ela,
como examinadora não teria obstáculo, né?
então, se não tem nenhum obstáculo, se você acha interessante a Eva, tá? Tudo
É.
bem. Aí eu
Porque a
coloco o
Alice
Dunker.
não poderia, ou como?
Não
Porque
sei, eu
ela
não
é
sei.
orientadora, né?
Eu evitaria a Alice, porque
É,
vai que até dezembro o acordo se dê, né? Se efetive. Aí ela já tem uma relação formal com o projeto.
é.
E
E
como
aí
a
você...
Eva não tem, pelo que eu entendi, ela não
Sim.
vai ter,
Não, ela não vai
aí é
ter.
uma pessoa que é mais tranquila e justifica o teu
É,
texto em inglês também, porque se eu chamar o Dunker,
é.
né? Por que que a gente está falando em inglês? Estão duas bancas em português,
Podemos falar
né?
também português na
Não,
qualificação.
mas eu acho que é legal estar a Alice e a Eva junto
É.
nessa
Então, com a
frase.
Alice vai ter um vínculo, vai ter um
Formal.
vínculo. Com a
Com a Eva,
Eva não vai
não.
ter vínculo até a defesa, onde ela vai entrar como examinadora. Isso já está claro, tá?
Uhum.
Então, a Eva talvez estaria menos complicado colocar ela na qualificação do que não, ela é externa mesmo.
É,
E ela vai continuar externa.
entendi. Tá, beleza. Depois dá uma verificada quantas pessoas são na banca de defesa do
Eu
doutorado.
tenho agora na minha frente o exame de qualificação no regime. Deixa eu ver, eu vou achar isso
De
já.
qualificação são duas.
Na qualificação são duas.
Tomara que sejam três na defesa, porque aí você tem um nome a mais aí. Que eu acho legal também você apresentar o teu trabalho para alguém que trabalha aqui no Brasil, né?
Sim,
Questões de Lacan. Meu temor é, assim, se eu pudesse, eu chamaria o Dunker e a Eva.
sim. Mas não tem que ser alguém da Universidade ABC,
Então, esse é o problema, tem que ser alguém da UFABC.
da UFABC, né?
Aí eu acho que o melhor mesmo é a Alex.
Então seria você, Alexia e mais uma pessoa. Temos que ver se, eu acho que 4 pessoas não vai dar. Estou
Não, não dá.
procurando.
Na qualificação, certamente não dá. Na qualificação são três.
São 3. Então,
Na defesa é que a gente precisa ver.
Então, seria, com certeza, você, com certeza, uma pessoa da universidade, que vai ser provavelmente a Alexia, e mais uma pessoa externa, que pode ser a Eva, ou pode ser o Duncan, ou a Safatle,
Uhum.
né?
Na verdade,
Seria,
assim, eu vou precisar de dois nomes. Então, para o FABC, eu preciso do titular e do suplente. Então, eu pensei na Alexia e no
uhum.
Cadu. O Cadu, ele estuda psicanálise, Foucault.
Ah, tá.
Acho que ele não é, assim, o
Ok.
ideal, mas... Ou a Suzy. Mas eu acho que a Suzy desbarata...
Suzy
Não é...
sempre falam que ela é da psicanálise, eu não
Ela é da
conheço.
psicanálise também. Pode ser a Suzy como interlocutora, mas eu acho que a Suzy não vai muito nessas paradas que você vai.
Entendo.
Ela
Então,
vai
não.
para o decolonial e tal. Pode ser que ela receba, como suplente, talvez.
É.
Eu fico na dúvida entre o Cadu e ela, porque aí a Suzy, eu sei que tem mais leitura de Lacan do que o Cadu, mas o Cadu eu sei que ele também está entrando na psicanálise forte. Então,
Então, tá. Aí, o que você acha melhor? Esse você tem que decidir. E a questão, se a Eva entra, você prefere a Eva ou preferia o Duncan, o Safatli?
eu tô na dúvida.
Né?
Tô na
Porque
dúvida.
a questão é, se entra o Duncan ou o Safatli, aí seria tudo em
Aí,
português. Né? Aí eu ia
não,
mostrar.
pode ser em inglês, porque eu vou chamar a Alice. É interessante que a Alice esteja
Ah, tipo, como ouvinte.
como ouvinte. Ah,
Ah, sim, então vai
uma
ter
ouvinte, digamos, uma ouvinte especial, que ela pode também falar.
entendo.
Eu vou
Ah, tá.
abrir margem para
Então,
isso.
não é só 3 pessoas que vão estar presentes nesta
É,
conferência.
eu acho que
Pode ser.
seria legal a gente usar esse espaço da
É,
qualificação não só como um exame e tal, que leitores externos vão ler seu trabalho, mas também ali se poder discutir, apresentar seu
ah,
trabalho, ver também quais são as reações, né, para ela vai ser interessante, acredito.
Então, vamos falar de inglês, né?
Isso, não, fica em inglês o texto, tese em inglês e tal. Inclusive, vou convidar isso, eu vou convidar o pessoal tendo em vista isso.
Como
tá?
que é público? Na verdade, uma defesa, por exemplo,
a qualificação é mais fechada.
É mais
Em
fechada.
geral, mas se você quiser, pode torná-la pública, não tem problema nenhum. Mas, em geral, ela é fechada. Porque, às vezes, pode ter um trabalho, né? Não é o caso, certamente, seu, mas pode ter, assim, uma crítica muito severa. E aí...
É melhor não tornar público.
É melhor não tornar público. Tá?
Entendo, é mais realmente para... exatamente, para aprimorar meu trabalho e não já para apresentar ele definitivamente, né?
Isso.
Exatamente. Agora, minha questão também é do texto.
Vou parar a gravação.